I'm Colonel Rick Welch, and retired colonel. I spent 7 years in Iraq. I think the problem with the U.S. is part legitimate and part packaging. You know, we go on this issue that we will only work through sovereign governments. This is one reason we won't arm the Sunni Arab tribes directly and the Kurdish forces, because we're working through the central government in Baghdad. That's the talking point, and that's the policy of the U.S. So, because if they arm them directly, it could also undermine the existing prime minister, who is sort of in a weak position now. But my personal view is we have the ability and the capability, the American military, the American government, we've done this before, we could do that to make sure they get the arms and equipment by persuading the Iraqi government to approve it, you know, the prime minister by executive order, even though that might put him in a weak position. We can work with the Peshmerga forces, the Kurdish forces, we can work with the Sunni tribal forces, and we can control what's going on. So my personal and professional opinion is we should do more to help those folks who are actually in the fight win the fight, and then have a political piece to go with that to make sure that after ISIS is defeated, we can disarm, demobilize, and reintegrate all these militias into a unified national security force. Let me go back to 2007, when the tribal awakening, what I call the second tribal awakening, that happened starting in Baghdad and then spread throughout the country. Our theory was that those tribal fighters would be more interested in protecting and preserving their community where their families live than if you took a fighter from Baghdad and sent him to Basra or sent him to Mosul to fight in somebody else's community. So we proposed a structure that said, after we defeat Al-Qaeda in 2007, after we defeat them, we'll have these local fighters work under the district police chiefs, which is an institution of government. They could work as sort of auxiliary policemen or auxiliary forces to help preserve and protect their homes and their families and their communities. That's only natural to use them. So it's a model that could work, except what I call the malign actors, the sectarian actors in the government, or the political actors that don't want to see these groups become popular. They don't want those groups to be self-sufficient or to have the arms, the equipment, the experience that could perhaps challenge those who are trying to control, you know, the government and consolidate their power. So there's a political dynamic and a military dynamic with it as well.